Yes,
And Sharon has the intro again.
I
So
found the intro.
yeah, so I can start and then Sharon takes over. Like,
Mhm.
greetings, friends. Welcome to a new episode of Free Range Thinking. Join us in our cozy recording caves and dive into some interesting topics and rabbit holes around the topic of neurodiversity with us. You can also ask us questions or share your stories or get on the show as guests, of course, and talk with us. And yeah, subscribe to our new Free Range Thinking newsletter that you can find at free-range-thinking.com. And soon we are sending you interesting little entrances to rabbit holes via email.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I'm Alex Carl. And on
And
the
I'm
other
Sharon
side,
Lee. Yes, I'm Sharon Lee, and we enjoy talking about and celebrating how people like us can not only thrive in today's world, but prosper because the world desperately needs neurodivergent humans to bring real transformation and evolution to mankind. We are the keys through the shitstorm of a one size fits all world, and that is no joke.
that
And
is no joke.
yeah, so today I've been like, peppering Alex with messages this last week, last couple of days, because I listened to actually watched the YouTube podcast from Tim Ferriss where he was hanging out. It was like 2 hours, almost 2 hours long, with John Batiste, the musician. And yeah, so we'll definitely share some links in the show notes. I think John Batiste is amazing. He's an amazing human being. He's an amazing musician. Just he's just a creative powerhouse, and he's really come into his own in the last year or so. And he created this incredible symphony, which was actually documented on Netflix, which we also put in the show notes. It was called the Symphony of Life, I think. I'm totally butchering this. You can
Hmm.
see I do a lot of research before we do these things, right? And um, it just and he and his wife Sulika they're just an amazing pair of human beings, separately and together, and it's just quite something. So I'm just very recently awash in the amazingness of the creativity of Jean Baptiste. And I love Tim Ferriss as an interviewer, and he really has the capacity to bring out and connect with the best in people. And watching the two of them kind of get high off of each other, it was one thing to listen to it. If you know the two of them, you could listen to it and then you could hear,
Hmm.
you could kind of see or imagine in your mind. But if you don't know them, I suggest watching it because it's really something. And I of course then sent it message to a bunch of my friends and go, oh my God, you're just like you have to listen to this. And it really touched me, especially the second half of it. It's like the last almost hour of it just made me feel so emotional, because as a creative and as a neurodivergent, it was everything that John was speaking about, and how he perceives and feels and his lived experience of being that type of a creative person, and kind of being misunderstood or misunderstood, misjudged, a number of different things. But also it's just you just keep going on and doing your own thing. And where does that come from? The intrinsic, um I don't want to say motivation, because motivation is kind of misused, but the intrinsic drive and curiosity to just keep going forward, and the trusting yourself and your creative spirit to just keep doing, keep creating, keep doing this thing, even though maybe everybody around you is super doubtful and downright judgmental and full on, it's like, yeah, well, that will never work, you should stop doing that, and that's not right, or that's wrong, or that's not the way it's done. and it's like for those of us who live outside the box of society on whatever in whatever category, you know, where does it come from and how do we keep going and how do we have the trust within ourselves? And you guys have heard me talk about my mom and that I got lucky, but it's also kind of how we're hardwired. You know, John Baptiste came from a very musical family and was encouraged, and so that's, you know, he came up in learning music and playing music, um, but still a lot of people do, but they don't, they tend to conform, you know, with what his society has deemed as normal behavior and
Mm,
what is normal, um, and the kind of, some people call it bravery, some people go, you know, it's foolishness, but it's like we, you know, some of us, we can't help ourselves, and it can be a lonely path.
mm,
um so it was very, you know, I felt a lot of emotion coming up when he was talking about it, and then when he sat down and like Tim asked him towards the end, Tim asked him a question and he said, wow, that's a really great question. He said, can I can I play it for you, you know, because he didn't have the words for it, but he could create the answer, that he could create something that would answer the thing. And I was just like, oh my God. Then he sat down at the piano and just started playing. And it was so powerful for me because I understand that. I live there.
mm,
In, you know, the being outside the verbal, even though, you know, words obviously are part of the thing that I do and that are fun and that I'm good at, but the nonverbal creating stuff and just the riffing or the free, you know, the freestyle, the creating, it's everything. It's everything. And so I was recognizing, you know, real time. Well, I mean, of course they had recorded it, but watching somebody describe that process as they're doing it,
mm,
I just have seen very rarely seen things like that.
mm.
Usually you see the creation, you see the finished creation. You don't hear a lot of people talking about the process of it. Um, yeah, so
Hmm.
yeah, it was incredible. It was incredible.
We had I just remembered we had a similar experience this weekend or this week because it was a long weekend in Germany. There was a holiday on Friday, and the brother of our landlord must have been visiting, and he is a concert piano player,
Mm-hmm.
but we didn't know. We just
Oh.
realized some evening. Our daughter had headphones on and was listening to something or watching something. And first they started to play pool billiard, I guess, downstairs, right under our living room, which is very loud when all the balls fall out the table. Um, and they were talking, and you could hear that are several people talking downstairs and laughing, but you can't understand anything. But it's a 300-year-old house, so
Mm-hmm.
you can really hear when people are downstairs in this hall. But they use it just 4 or 5 times a year, so it's not really often. And so I realized, okay, they have visitors. And then somebody started like tinkering around the piano, and our landlord also sometimes plays, but even with this through a ceiling, and just like 4 bars or so that have been played, I already heard, okay, there's somebody playing who really knows what he or she is doing.
Right.
And I think they said to him, "Hey, can you play something for us?" And he played something that he had memorized, learned for his last concert or so.
Hmm.
Because after 5 or 10 minutes, I think they had to like push him a little bit and say, "Oh, come on, please." And he was like, "Oh no, I don't want to," something like that, I guess.
Yeah.
He started playing, and our daughter, she doesn't really like classical music normally. She wants. I think she's like me often. I needed almost 50 years to appreciate classical music without lyrics and without somebody. I'm really because the aphantasia, I think, I'm really
Okay.
focused on lyrics. And
Okay.
because of the ADHD, I don't know what songs are about, especially English songs, but also
Okay.
Germans.
Mhm.
I mean, in with English songs, I can sing along an English song because I know which words come next because they have to rhyme. So I don't have to know the lyrics to know how the next line might be. I'm a little bit like ChatGPT maybe here. Um, but I don't understand what the people are singing about. Most of the time, I
Hmm.
really have to sit down, read the lyrics, and process them to understand what's going on there. And it's almost the same in German as well. So I need the lyrics, I need the words to
Oh, interesting.
anchor for me the music, but the words are just one instrument. So the meaning of the song um, is not relevant for me when I'm listening to music most of the time. Only with songs that I know really really well, or where
That
the
makes
the
sense.
where the lyrics are so outstanding. There's one song by a German musician, Herbert Grönemeyer, where he sings, and that comes to mind because I watched a lot of reaction videos in last time because he made it into a lot of reactions of British and American music YouTubers because there's a live version of the song where he performs it for one of the first times after writing it. And the song is called The Way, Der Weg, where he, after 2 or 3 years of mourning, um, he sings about when he lost his wife to cancer. And 1 week before his wife died, his brother died also. So it's
Oof,
a,
heavy. Mm.
yeah, yeah. And that is a song where the lyrics immediately worked, and I heard them. And in 90% of or 95% of other songs, they are just part of the music. So
Mhm.
I think our daughter is somewhere the same. So she wants and needs the lyrics in a song, and doesn't like classical music normally. And I poked her and took her headphones off and said, "Listen." And we were just sitting at our dinner table and were listening to somebody playing downstairs through the ceiling for 10 or 15
Nice.
minutes and were just fascinated. It was really, really
Mhm.
cool. A really, really cool experience, although the sound wasn't that good, but it was like experiencing somebody really, really masterfully and with a lot of feeling playing an instrument
Mhm. Mhm.
live. Which after that, I said to her, okay, now can you imagine why live music is so special, especially if you try to imagine a time 200 years ago or 100 years ago where people haven't got the opportunity to save music in any way. If you wanted to hear music, you had to play it yourself or go somewhere where somebody is playing, or otherwise you couldn't turn on Echo or Spotify or
Right.
YouTube Music and just listen to whatever you want. You had to find somebody, at least one person, who can play something for you. Otherwise, you could just whistle or sing for yourself. And I think that was the first time she really realized that how precious music can be.
Mm-hmm. What a cool experience.
That was, and yeah, yesterday we were at the children's concert of a band. She heard a lot of music in the music class in school, where it's about a little owl, the animal owl, the bird,
Hmm.
which experiences like 10 or 12 different music styles and finds her own beat in
Hmm.
some way, which was really cool in that context as well. Um, and then want to come back to the John Baptiste because Sharon sent the video to me and said, "Yeah, listen to this. This is so cool." And I started listening for 20 minutes or so, and it's really hard for me to get into it. Um, I don't know if it's I just before we started recording, I described it as they could also be talking in French or in Japanese because I hear the words they are talking, but I can't connect with them. I just don't know what the two are talking about, and I like to listen to Tim Ferriss' podcast as well, very much. And then I thought, okay, I listened to some of the music of John Batiste. And there's a version of Für Elise, a piece of Beethoven piece on YouTube where he starts playing Für Elise. And since he's a classical pianist and a jazz pianist, he then starts to improvise over the song. And that is so irritating for me because it sounds like he starts playing Für Elise, then he stops playing that, playing a little jazz piece, then gets back into Fiorelise, then starts playing jazz a little bit again. For me, that's just from my understanding and from my ears. And as we talked about that 10 minutes ago, I realized that how I connect to this interview and to his music might also be an analogy. Like Sharon clicked immediately.
Yeah.
I had a really difficult time with it. I will try to listen to the second half that you were just talking about. Maybe that gets me more, and I will watch the American Symphony documentary.
American Symphony.
And maybe it's an analogy for how different neurodivergent people or even neurotypical people, or what happens when neurotypical people meet neurodivergent people and they have the best interest, but they just can't connect
Yeah.
with the thing or with the subject or with the situation. They connect in such different ways to a piece of content or a situation or an event that is really difficult to find some common ground, for example.
Hmm.
I just love this analogy because it's such a great example. And maybe you, the listeners, you could listen to some of the things in the show note as well and tell us via mail or
Yeah, tell us
comment
how
or
it struck you and
what
what
you
you
think.
felt about it, what
Yeah.
you think about it, how you perceived it, how like what was it like? And I find it interesting because some of I was explaining before we press record, that that not all of John Baptiste stuff is. Sometimes I'm listening to it and I'm like, I don't get it. But the guy, I mean, he's a genius on another, completely another level. But
Mhm.
when he's speaking about creating, 110%, I completely understand because that's where I live.
Mhm.
And it's, yeah, so that I also find fascinating, that we can experience things like one person, but actually I'm gonna say the product. No, I hate to use that word, but what we're creating, the creations that we create, doesn't just because we understand, like what somebody is talking about, doesn't necessarily mean we can connect with what they're actually creating.
Mm-hmm.
But there is a lot of stuff. Now, I love the way he moves. I love the way so much of what he does, so that there's always something in what he's doing. And the thing that really strikes me about him, and that the way that he and I are very similar, that I noticed, just immediately ever since I, came across the guy, is he just has this total like connection with childlike awe and joy
Mm-hmm.
at all times,
Mm-hmm.
even when things are difficult. And this is a thing, it's like my wife described it as like it's like he's on drugs all the time. And I was like, yeah, kinda. And that's sort of like me if I was like unfiltered. John Batiste is way more unfiltered than me. He was actually, I don't want to say filtered, but he was very calm. And how he was speaking, you described him as being low energy. Actually, I didn't feel like he was low energy during that thing at all.
Nah,
um
I meant when
yeah.
you said he's this childlike awe, and when I observe children when they are
Right.
in awe and really excited about something and
Well,
doing
there you
something,
go. The
creating
excited
something.
about something. But
To,
most
to
people assume that children are bouncing off the walls. I did
no,
not as
no,
a
no,
child.
no, not bouncing off the
Yeah.
walls, but I have
Yeah.
a child that is really talking about something that really excites them and that
Mm-hmm.
they are really interested in. And I've never experienced a child being that chilled, laid back, and he almost comes over as not, yeah, a little bit bored. And that's
Yeah, that's so
what I meant
funny.
with
So
low
funny.
energy. It's like he's so
Yeah.
maybe he is so centered and so
Yeah.
grounded. Um, yeah, that he doesn't. I don't mean bouncing off the walls, but
Well, it's like let me just put this in. I mean, they were describing, which I didn't not know until I was listening to this,
mm,
because Tim Ferriss does his homework.
mhm.
But so when they started off, you said something about John was like nonverbal until he was like 10. And I was like, what? And from what I've seen in videos and interviews and things of John, and as he's moving around and doing stuff, um, he's just so delightfully childlike,
Mm,
and does have a lot of energy, and does, but he does come across as being kind of weird. But like little kids are, but in adults it's seen as being weird, but in little kids it's not, it's completely normal.
mm,
Um and but I do understand that like some things, as he was obviously a late bloomer, um, but that things were too intense, or maybe it was just a lot, and so he just wasn't, he couldn't, he wasn't processing it in a verbal way,
mm,
which I understand. And I was very quiet as a kid. It wasn't non-verbal like that, but definitely very, very quiet. And
mm,
there's a lot of observation, a lot of absorbing, a lot of what was going on inside
mm,
was completely different than what people were perceiving on the outside.
mm,
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so there's this, yeah, society's perceptions, expectations, and projections onto, number one, kids, number two, adults.
mm,
As an adult, you're not supposed to act like that. Like I have people over and over and over again tell me, when I tell them how old I am, they're like, "What? You can't be." It's like, "Wow, your
mm,
energy is this and you're that," and you just come across as so much younger. And I'm like, what do you mean? Immature? Childlike? Is that what are you trying to say? But I know what they mean.
Yeah.
But but that's what that thing is.
Yeah.
And it's the thing of not, fitting into the boxes of what a mature adult acts like.
Mm.
And so the thing of allowing oneself, to be outside the norms of adult behavior type of a thing. It's an interesting place to be.
Mm.
It's an interesting place to be. And again, that people who go, "Oh, you're so courageous to, to be open and vulnerable." And I'm like, I don't know any other way to be. It's not, it's not a courageous thing at all. It's I can't. But it's part of the thing of not, making it difficult. I want to say being essentially unemployable, if you
Mm.
will, in certain aspects. Not that I can't, have control in a professional situation. That's, it's not that. But yeah, it's the, being childlike and, and being open and being odd,
Mm.
you know. It's anyway, so this is what I love about John Batiste, and but having him talk about this stuff and having seeing him talk about creativity in a very unguarded, joyful way is really precious.
Mm.
We don't see a lot of people like that, and he's so confident. I don't know, confident is the word. He's so chill in how he comes across, and he's so okay with himself that what a great thing that he shares that. And he and his wife are on the same page about that. Um, and how they share themselves and their creativity is really quite something, because we don't get to see a lot of it,
Mm.
you know.
Yeah, I really have to listen to some of his
Yeah,
own music and the documentary. I'm really
yeah.
interested, and then watch the second half of the Tim Ferriss
I
interview.
would say watch the American Symphony first,
Mm-hmm.
and because then it will kind of put it into context
Mm-hmm.
of what he's talking about and how he talks and how, what it's like, okay, I see what he's, I understand. There's kind of it's almost like pulling back the veil of
Yeah.
what you're looking at, the
Mm-hmm.
filter of society and adulthood. Maybe, I don't know, maybe not. But it's like, right now, yeah, so seeing that interview, it's like, of course, I've been telling everybody, it's like, oh God, you have to watch the Netflix special, and probably first.
Mm.
um yeah, and then also watching his effect on Tim Ferriss, because Tim Ferriss was very emotional in the thing, and so that was really interesting as well.
Okay.
But that's, but again, so much stuff came into my head, because that's kind of what the retreats are about that I do, is like, step off the hamster wheel and come with me for a week and immerse yourself in the ambiance of, the creative spirit and the childlike awe and curiosity. um that's what I do. That's the best thing I can do, is share that with people. So that was coming into my mind as well when I was listening to him. um yeah, because it's a generous thing, um to go, okay, come with me, and I'll share this with you.
Mm.
Because a lot of times people, they don't give themselves the permission to do that. And I recognize when people, neurodivergent or otherwise, sometimes I feel like it's funny, because neurodivergent people tend to have a closer connection
Mm.
with this, but they're also a lot of times so beaten back by societal norms that, and they've lost trust in themselves, but they seem to be able to, like, you know, step over the gap or bridge the gap quite quick. Um, or is it the, let's see, neuronormatives, linear thinkers? How do I put that? But people who are where it's easier to fit into society.
Mm.
And so therefore it's like stepping out of society feels very painful because they're never outside of society's norms. Whereas people who are neurodivergent we're always masking. So, but we definitely know what it's like to be on the outside. Um, and so the people who can function, and never have functioned outside the norms of society and are quite comfortable with it and find it scary to um, step out into the more liminal space.
Can I,
They have a harder time, and it takes a deeper practice to get
can I
there.
ask a question?
Mhm.
It's I had the experience when we came back from our fall holiday from the island, and I'm going to get this into my holiday routine, I would say, um, that I plan at least one more day, one more free day of holiday, um, after we come back from something that I have for myself at home, because that helps me to settle in and transition from this being
Right.
somewhere else, being surrounded by my girlfriend and my daughter for the whole week or 2 weeks or whatever, um, and then getting back home and trying to get into the all-day business again is really, really hard for me. And I took this. I didn't plan it this time. I had in the summer. I had 3.5 weeks of summer holiday. I needed 1 week to let loose and get into the summer holiday. And
Right.
then I needed 3 weeks to get out of it again and get into some kind of working mode because it was just too long for myself to get out of almost everything. Um, and I realized I took now in the fall, after 1 week, I took the Monday. Um, mm, a little bit involuntarily. It was like I started working for the agency. I joined the voice chat and said hello to everybody. But then I
Mhm.
realized I have to get off for 2 or 3 hours at least and sit on the couch and like do something. What did I do? I think I just sat on the couch and were researching for books on Amazon and just put like 40 books I want to read, like, or I'm interested in, onto a list. But all the
Right.
topics I came across the last week about Frisian history and whale, here the Moby Dick, like whale catchers and different neurodivergent stuff and business and Montessori and whatnot.
Mhm.
And I sat there for 3 or 4 hours that felt, or that would have been, if somebody would have looked on me from the outside, and there maybe is a connection to the John Batiste as well. When somebody would have watched me from outside, it's like, why are you putting books on a list you are never going to read or buy? And for me, it was like getting all this out of my head and like
Right.
pushing post-its around or something like that. Like really low key, low level, thinking about it, researching a bit, and it was like sorting the past week in my brain and taking some time off and thinking about what are the next steps I have to do at work, for example. It was
Yeah.
there were 3 or 4 layers going on in my head at the same time, um, that I needed to process about the last 7 days.
Yeah, it's the transition. Exactly
Yeah.
what you said earlier. It's how do we transition? But a lot of times we're not conscious of that, and we're transitioning, but like, okay, how do we do it? It's a good question. How do we do it consciously? How do we create that space for ourselves? Um, and claim it and say, okay, I'm going to need this, and here's what I'm going to be doing, because otherwise then it feels like you're stealing the time, or
Yeah.
we feel guilty
Yeah,
about it.
yeah, I
um
still felt guilty about that a little bit because
which
I
yeah,
needed to make
which is
up
so
this
sad.
time. Yeah, no, because I need to make up the time somehow for the company I'm working for example.
Big sigh.
Huh? What?
I'm like, sigh, big sigh,
Yeah, big
because
sigh.
it's like, because here we go again with the industrialized model
Yeah,
of, living and working. um and people feel guilty for stuff that, come on, man, we don't need to feel guilty for. But it's like we have to justify it, and we have to lie and cheat and hide,
and
our transition time. And it's the transition time is not the same for everybody. What takes might take you a half a day or a couple hours might take somebody else a whole week.
or
It's
minutes.
it's
It can be
four
both.
minutes
Yeah,
Yeah, it can be. Well, that's what I'm saying. It's either,
yeah.
it goes to either way.
But
um
I needed to, like, after 15 years of being self-employed and freelancing, it's really hard for me to realize that. Um, I think we talked about that in one of the not yet released episodes from last year. Uh, that I really struggled in the beginning with getting into clocking time,
mm,
um, working on specific tasks and tickets for custom or for clients who then get billed on this task, on like exactly on how many minutes you worked on that, because that normally
oof.
isn't the way I roll. It's like, okay,
Yeah,
you pay me $1,000 per month and I deliver this for you. Is it okay? Yes, it's okay. Okay. How long it takes me to do this
it's like, who the
isn't
hell
your
knows?
concern.
Exactly.
If I when I manage to do this in half an hour, great. Then I earn $2,000 in an hour. If it takes me 80 hours, then I have a really crap hourly wage, but it's
But
my
that's like,
decision.
yeah, and I get, and again, it's a thing
And I
how
can
we
take my
frame it.
time then.
It's not it's not a crap wage.
Yeah.
But it's like, if we put the thing on of what, again, the industrialized thing of what is an hourly wage,
Yeah.
it makes everybody, cram it into that model of value.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm the same way. I don't see it that way. I just don't. Because if but if somebody gets the value that they want, exactly like what you said, that's what's more important. If do you want the thing at that price? Great. you know and now again, we're talking about things that it doesn't really matter like that. If there's something that's a time constraint, or you're doing open heart surgery, or certain things do. But it's not that those things, it's like the chicken or the egg thing. It just
But
happens that it's in that model. Do you
take
know
the
what I mean?
open
It's not that fitting into that model.
take the open heart surgery. The
Mm-hmm.
heart surgeon uh will work on this heart as long as this
As
heart
long as it
needs to
takes.
be worked on to fix it, hopefully.
Right.
And he's not going like, oh, I just get $500 per hour from the health
Actually,
system, so I do just half a good job that I could do, as if I get
mm,
2,000
yeah,
euros.
but they're not gonna.
Oh.
People aren't gonna stop doing the job because if they. I mean, well, I would say most people. I don't know, some people, but that's my point. It's still on the hourly rate, and of course, doctors think about that. And if they have to be in surgery, of course, they're going to charge more on a particular thing, or whatever the insurance that gives them. But how much money am I losing by staying in here? Hopefully, it's a good doctor that cares more about saving the life than about how much money they're going to be making so that he can
Mm,
buy another, racehorse or, whatever.
mm.
But that's my,
I actually talked about that with several doctors, and all of them that are working in hospitals, all of them said it's, of course, we have to take in account that our hospital is not going bankrupt.
right, exactly.
But
Mhm.
for us as doctors, it's not the it's not a monetary thing. It's more like, okay, I have to do the best possible job on a patient, but also do it as quick as possible so that I can help enough other people.
Yeah, yeah.
And
But it's the
they're
budget
not.
of the hospital and the insurance changes the game,
Mm,
and that's actually why they have to um, make shortcuts and decisions.
mm.
It's like, no, we can't afford to do that, or who gets this or that. Anyway, that's going to get us off on a whole nother rabbit thing, which I
Yeah.
don't really want to talk about. And to drag it back up on the path of like the creativity and yeah, the way that people experience the either doing or experiencing a creative act and or experiencing the creative acts of others. Uh, there was um, today I was in a it's like on Mondays. I'm in the what's called the Monday space, and it's a facilitator community. And there was a woman in there today, and she was speaking about um, AI and um, how to use AI. It was very a low level thing of like the ethics of AI, and it was just kind of an overview of it. Um, and it was interesting because it got into an area where suddenly I realized that she was mentioning that she built a bot, an AI bot, and I was like, wait, what? And then and she was like, yeah, and anybody can do this. And then I'm like, what do you mean anybody can do it? I'm not,
Mm,
you have to be an IT or you have to be a
mm,
programmer or developer or something. And she was kind of, and other people were asking questions around that. And she was like, no, anybody can do this now. I was like, what? Wait a minute. And then, and there was a couple of people in there that have also tried this out and experimented with it. So there was somebody in there that was I don't necessarily know an expert, but has like logged a lot of time using AI and making images and doing workshops and programs and things using AI and playing with it. And so when we were in a breakout room, I happened to be in a breakout room with two people who
mhm,
have built AI bots,
mhm,
just playing around with it.
mhm.
And I was like, what? I'm like, tell me more. And so then my brain just started, I was just like having these epiphanies in there. And I was like, oh, I should build one. Because it's the using it for, as an artist, I don't really care because if things start looking very homogenized, and you
Mm,
could tell when AI has kind of created something artistic. So I'm not interested in that at all.
mm,
And I'm not really interested in the writing aspect because I have my particular style, and it also I noticed homogenizes it a couple times when I've tried to use it. And I'm just like, yeah, I'm not into that. I don't want it to write in my style.
Yeah.
I want to do the writing. So it's taking away my fun as a wordsmith, and it kind of dumbs it down. So I'm not interested in that either. But then through this discussion and this thing today, I realized, oh, but wait.
Oh, but wait.
Oh, but wait. I can instigate and create, an AI bot because I was saying, well, so, I was like so trying not to hijack the session with like I think we had like 14 people in there, and so I was like letting everybody talk. So it got to the very end where there was not, just a kind of handful of us in there. So then I started asking questions, and I was saying, well, like, so is it like, using the filters, like being the filter and creating kind of a bot, but you're the one defining it. So you're the one setting up the filters to define this thing. And a couple of them were like, yeah, that's it exactly. And I was like, oh. It's like, you don't say. I was like, okay, now this sounds like fun. So I might have found a new obsession. And so I don't dare touch it this week because I've got too much other stuff on my plate. And I was like, I'll go off and nobody will ever hear from me ever again, because this will be so much fun. But it's like, I asked, like, the first thing that popped into my head was like, okay, I'm going to set up a bot, an AI bot, and it's going to be called the Skeptical Cat. Everything will be run through the filter, of a skeptical cat or something. I don't know. It's something. I don't even know. I don't even know really kind of what's possible in doing this. But evidently anybody can do this within Chat GPT. And I was like, what? And so I wanted to talk to you about it today. I was like, oh my God, I know I'm going to be recording this podcast today. And I thought, I got to talk to Alex about this. This is amazing. Because and during the thing, the woman was saying, yeah, and you can sign up for this one, or you can sign up for that one. And I was saying, for me, what I find interesting is playing around with all the stuff that's free. I am not interested in signing up for the next better bells and whistles on these things. I'm always intrigued by using what's at hand for free. And thinking about people in like other economic circumstances or cultures or countries where they don't have access to the funding to buy the next bigger, better bells and whistles for something. So it's like, I want to know what the common denominator is, the most, the primal form of something that we can use for free, and what can we do with that, and what can we build with it within those restrictions, and can we build something that can create passive income can I build a bot thing? Well, the thing is, of course I can. And so it's like, well, it's always my question, can somebody actually do this? And of course the answer is yes. So then it's like, okay, why not me? And then using myself as an experiment and kind of as a guinea pig, and go, okay, like look, if I could do this, literally anybody else can do this too. And using it as a model, using myself as a model of what's possible. Especially people who kind of live outside the norms of society, and what tools do we have? What amazing tools do we have at our fingertips that work for neurodivergence and creatives? And the bar to entry is very low. I find this very, very exciting. So I will be experimenting. You've heard it here today. I will be experimenting. Who knows? 2 months into it, I might be like, nah, I'm not interested. Total possibility. I might lose interest. But for the moment, this is the thought of that is exciting. Not the results that come out of it. Because this is a reason or a thing that I just meh. I've played around with AI, but it's like, meh, okay. It doesn't really interest me. It hasn't really interested me up to this point. But the building the thing, that
From
that suddenly tilted the game board for me in a very interesting way.
right now at the moment, I'm it's funny that you mentioned that because the last week I spent a lot of time like working with three different AIs. I wanted to have a locally installed LLM on my computer so that I can throw books at
LM.
LLMs, large language models.
Okay, for those who don't know what that means.
um,
And those of
install
us
it
who do.
install it on
Yeah.
my machine so that I don't have to be connected to the internet to throw things at it. I that's quite complex because you have to install different layers on your computer, and I didn't have wrapped my head around that yet, how to do that. But I found that you can do something similar with the AI by Google, the Gemini,
Mm-hmm.
because you can use aistudio.google.com and take one of the Gemini models, and then you can upload PDFs into your Google Drive into one folder, and then you can say, then you can say to the AI, you can talk to the books in the folder. So you can
Mm-hmm.
say to the AI, just use this document I just uploaded into this folder, and then you can yeah, talk to these documents or ask questions about those documents, which is really a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
Especially about things I have read 2 or 3 years ago or so, and I want to use for something else, and I don't want to read the whole thing again. That's really useful. About building, it's what came to my mind is the building agents in ChatGPT. So you can build your own agents in there, which are like your personal chatbots or chatbots you can define how they should act. So a friend of mine, for example, he built like a marketing sales agent in ChatGPT so that he asked several clients if he can record a sales call with them, transcribe it, and then after they had the call, he would take the transcript and run it through this agent he built in ChatGPT and say, okay,
Mm-hmm.
this was the sales call. You are the sales manager. Um, do a follow-up email of this and make a summary of what we talked about, make some next steps, make a vision of the project we can do together. And so because it's a predefined agent, you don't have to put this in your prompt every time again and again. So it's really
Right,
quick.
right.
You get off your call, you take the transcript, you throw it at it, and in a minute you have a follow-up email after this sales call or this consultancy call, and you have something you can send the person, and you can combine that with Perplexity. Perplexity uses ChatGPT, OpenAI, and other models, but it's more like a search engine, so it can access like recent content from the internet better than ChatGPT.
Mm-hmm.
So you can use Perplexity, for example, to ask about your client upfront and say, okay, this client is in this industry. What can you tell me about this industry? What can you tell me about the challenges? What can you tell me about maybe creative usage of AI in this industry, and get ideas to talk to the client before you get on the sales call.
Yeah.
But you can also use Perplexity to program your agent in ChatGPT and say, okay, I want to build a ChatGPT agent. Can you help me with that? And since Perplexity has access to more content on the web, it can help you to build this agent in ChatGPT. So it's like a lot of networked ping pong between
Right, right,
different
right.
AI models to build something. And
So we'll have to talk about this. We won't subject everybody to this on having a the how to and force people to sit with us while we do this. But you and I have to talk about this because it's like I was thinking about like what can we do, with this platform, for example. And so again, it's like with having the ideas of things to do, I can imagine a lot of things. So it's like, okay, I have to talk to Alex and figure out what, we should experiment. We should totally experiment and play around with it. Um, yeah.
I
And
would
so,
like.
but I don't want to suck up our time having
No, but
having forcing
I have
everybody
one
to
question I
listen
would
to
like
this.
to ask you
Yeah. Mhm.
on record, because it may be interesting for others as well. Would you rather uh, type, so write to ChatGPT
Mhm.
or an AI, or would you rather talk to it? Because the newest
Talk,
versions.
talk, because it's
Ah.
that's what I was doing during the last retreat that I did with, and that's the kind of the tool that I was using with the client,
Mm,
because we were taking walks and talking, um, and so we were in a cafe and talking, so just the whole time there was just a lot of dialogue, and so I was recording on my
mm,
phone and then just running it through through a text thing and then sending it to her, and then in the evenings, um, she was taking quiet time and she was listening to them over and then taking notes in her notebook, but it was very easy, and that's definitely more my speed. When I'm writing something, to write an article, it's more the active writing,
mm.
and it's not something I would type it into Chat GPT. That just is not what I'm going to be doing when I'm just writing in a Word document. But most of my writing is freehand in a notebook. But then I can read it and put it in text and then edit it. So there's a number of different ways depending on what I'm doing. If I'm writing a story, I'm writing it out freehand in a notebook.
I meant more the interaction with an AI. Would you rather talk
I
to it?
wouldn't do in terms of writing, in terms of interaction with an AI. I'm not going to be writing with an AI because it takes the fun out of it for me. It's too there's too it blocks the flow state of writing. So I'm not going to be doing it, and I don't want it needed to um, um, condense or change what I'm writing. That's not what I'm after with it. So I don't, that's what I'm saying up
Nah,
until now.
I mean something different. I
Maybe I'm
mean,
not misunderstanding your question.
would you rather type in a question, or
Oh,
when you want AI, no matter if it's Perplexity or ChatGPT or Gemini, whatever, but if you
I
want
need an
to.
example because I'm having a hard time. Let me give you an example and ask you if this is what you mean. Say I'm doing a video and say, in terms of marketing or something, and say I want to do a video of myself and take a video of myself, but I want myself in the background of, say,
No, no, no.
like, well, hold on, let me finish. and saying, I'm, take this video and I want you to, if I'm giving an example of a command
Huh?
for ChatGPT or something, and say, take this video and put me in it like this, and I want to be staged in like a traffic jam, driving in a traffic jam. And on top of that, I want it interspersed with shots of me, my car in traffic, take it like in the perspective of a drone showing my car in the traffic jam, and then go back in, zoom back in, and I'm in the car with the thing. Now, I would rather describe that verbally than write that as a request. Is that what you mean?
Yes, but that's already a really specific command. I was more
But I
about the
needed a
general,
specific thing
yeah,
to understand what
the
you're talking
yeah,
about.
the general. How would you like to communicate with an AI? Is it more like, okay, you take your phone,
Verbally.
go on a walk and just talk to it and it answers by talking, and then you get into a conversation with an AI, which is not a person. And I have really I I don't know, I have a problem. I know a lot of people who do that already, and I
Mhm.
have a problem to get over some kind of hurdle. I still like to write with the AI, as I still like more to write with people over
Mhm.
messages than sending voice messages, for example.
I think, okay, I love that you're asking this because I'm not auditory.
Hmm.
So I want to be able to verbally
Hmm.
communicate with the AI, but I want it to write to me.
Ah. Okay, so you would like to speak what you are thinking, but then get
Right.
text back,
The answers,
read it,
yes,
and then ask back. Ah, so that is like
that's right.
really asymmetric. That could,
Exactly.
yeah, that could work for
And
me
it
as
didn't, and
well.
so thanks for asking the question because I never thought about it until just now.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a because most people I talked about AI in the last 4 to 6 weeks, they were really excited about that you can almost have a conversation with ChatGPT, for example. You can
Meh.
talk with it and it answers. And some people say if you are in it for some minutes, you almost forget that it's an AI that's answering. Depending on the topic, of course, and depending how much it's hallucinating or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, what works, or what one person told me what worked for her especially well, was like talking to it and telling ChatGPT upfront to be like a cognitive behavioral therapist and answering
Hmm.
like that. And she said it feels much more natural to talk in that way instead of writing, because I wouldn't write with my therapist, she said.
Right. Hmm.
Most of the time, sometimes yes, but most of the time, a therapist would say, okay, this is your hour, you come in this time frame, then we can talk, and you don't send
Yeah.
me WhatsApp
But that's
messages
why
or
I was
whatever.
asking what the context was, and I
Yeah.
needed an example. Now, not everything I'm going to be doing would be like that. And there are
Mm,
things that I haven't even, and I know that once I really start experimenting,
mm,
there is going to be things that show up that that didn't even cross my mind right
mm,
now. It's the more you use something, the more comes to the surface. And so the possible uses of, and of course, being an ideas person, there's going to be stuff that comes up that I can't even predict right
yeah.
now. And it's like, oh, okay, yeah, okay, here's a good example. And this is better in this situation, this one's better in this situation.
Yeah.
And of course, if you're driving in the car, you're not going to be writing and reading.
Yeah.
So if there's a question you can ask, that's something that you want to know. um, Now, to be honest with you, if I'm in a car, I'm going to want somebody to read me a particular book in a particular accent, in a, in a
Hmm.
particular, with a particular feeling of something, that would be awesome.
Hmm.
That would be awesome.
Hmm.
Yeah. But there's, how I would use it or put some information in a particular form, like of a story, or, yeah, I think that would be delightful. Because I don't want like self-help books and shit. It's like, okay, can you take this book and put it in the form of a story and just read me a story? Like, yes, please. Yes, please.
Like we experimented with a year ago, so to say, okay, take this story, this book,
Mm-hmm.
this fictional story,
Mm-hmm.
and read it in a style of Captain's log from Star Trek,
Exactly.
but
Exactly.
in the voice of Gandalf from Lord of the Rings. So
Yes.
like playing ping pong with
Yeah.
different styles
Mm-hmm.
and memes and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, choosing the voice you would
Mm-hmm.
like to hear it in. That would be
And
cool.
and at any given time, how do we want our information? And having that at our fingertips seems
Mm,
to me to be that's an exciting thing. And to be able to not have to wait for somebody else to do it for us.
mm,
And yeah, I think there's a lot of really cool possibilities. Granted, it's, you have to take in, we're not even going to touch on the thing. It's just, let's say, for all intents and purposes, we are discussing something where we are engaging, anything that we're engaging with, it has the ethical copyright stuff attached. Okay, you and I are going to say, okay, we're just doing that. Within that context, all this other shit would be really cool, because I don't want to, that's a given, because everybody keeps, when I'm talking about stuff, they're like, yeah, but the ethical thing, and I'm like, yes, I know, and I have to like stop and back
mm.
up about that. But because I'm not interested,
What
and
ethical
being an
thing?
artist, just the
What?
ethics of, it's like, for example, and here we are, I just said, let's go on the premise that here we are again, the thing of copyright and the ownership, and the fact that whatever is put on a particular platform or bot or whatever, there's a filter on there that is only open source, and like, where does it come from? Because the things that are out there now, you can't, it's hard to tell, and they go through so many different iterations that it loses the thread. The woman, Simone, who was saying, she put a whole bunch of links in the chat today during the session, and there's a thing that can actually research it back to the original, and that there's a thing that they're using in educational systems, she said, where, you know, was it actually created by students, or was it copied by students?
Mm.
And so there's some
Okay.
tools out there. So that was very interesting to
Mm.
me. And I thought, okay, that's cool. That's more than, and of course, everything is changing so fast. But
Yep. Yep.
she's really tapped into the education in the EU and what's going on with that.
I talked about that with a German teacher about that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and she was like, "Yeah, now I can't even figure out if
Yeah.
it was hard enough when the kids just Google something or they copied something from Wikipedia.
Mm-hmm.
Now I have to check if they use ChatGPT." And I said, "Why?" "Yeah, because it's not okay to use ChatGPT." And I said, "Why?" If
Mm-hmm.
a student uses ChatGPT, it's your job as a teacher to ask the student questions to find out if they really grasped the concept or if they understood what they were,
Yeah.
what the task was. And when
Mm-hmm.
a summarization or a written essay by ChatGPT led to the student to understand the concept in 10 minutes instead of 4 hours of researching and writing an essay, then ChatGPT did a hell of a good job because it did the
Mm-hmm.
job in
There you
10
go.
minutes And
Right.
you are in this mindset of, if it's not hard work and if it's not like 4 hours of work or 4 days
If
of
it's not
work,
agonizing.
yeah, then it's not worth anything. But
It's like the calculators and using calculators now.
yeah,
People think nothing of it.
yeah,
And you see it in stores. There's people, and not just kids, but there's full on adults, like mid-aged adults, that can't count out change. Every time I see that, it blows my mind.
and they don't need to anymore because there are
Right,
cash
right,
systems that
right,
just say what you have to give people back. And of course, there are edge
right,
cases,
right,
1 in 100 in a day maybe, where you
right.
really have to calculate. But is that I, I don't know. I don't know if calculating change in your head is such an important skill that you can't outsource it to a machine.
Yeah,
That's
but that's my point, is that it's like, we're all raised to, well, not all of us, but it's people who are older. It's like we can't, people can't fathom
yeah,
not having, not that not being a requirement to
yeah,
do basic math,
yeah.
subtraction, addition, division. I mean, when you get into the higher maths, that's a whole nother story. But it's the basic maths,
Mm,
um, and the fact that when calculators and everybody's using, um, something to figure it out, and now people kind of lose the capacity. It's like driving stick
mm,
and driving an automatic,
mm.
that type of thing as well. And
And
it's
the
like, but do we need to? No, we don't really need to.
no,
But it's an interesting, they're kind of becoming lost arts. The lost art of, ooh, that would be an interesting story.
it's the lost art of reading a map and finding your way through the street with a map is,
Yes,
for
yes,
example, is
yes,
a lost
exactly.
art. I was able to, like 30 years ago or so, when I was working at the parcel or courier service, and drive around a perimeter of, let's say, 100 kilometers around Bielefeld. I knew myself around really, really well, even in the remotest areas, because I intuitively knew the directions.
Mm-hmm.
And now I have a navigation system. I don't have any use of this skill anymore. And
Yeah,
maybe once in a year, I'm
yeah.
stuck somewhere without a map and with a drained battery. And okay, then I have to ask somebody for the way.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
the rest of the year, the digital solution saves me weeks of time in a year. But
Mm-hmm.
still, a list of lost arts, or arts that are lost to digital services also, would be really interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
The what I would like to maybe shortly touch upon is the which I read between the lines 5 minutes ago when you were talking about the thing this morning. It's like the ethics of copyright, or whatever she maybe was talking about. Mm, my take on this is, when I buy a book, and I
Mm-hmm.
would like to get back to this example what I just gave. When I buy a book um, from a living author, and this living author still has the copyright. It's not like Edgar Allan Poe or so, or Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, which is already public domain. It's there's still a copyright on it. And I want to do what I described. And like, it's a really new English book which hasn't got a translation yet. And I say to ChatGPT, translate this book into German and then read it in the style of Star Trek's Captain's Log, in the voice, in the structure of the Captain's Log, in the voice of Gandalf,
Mm-hmm.
in the German voice of Gandalf. there may be, or there surely are, several copyright problems in there, but mm, I don't really care because I bought the book.
Yeah, but you don't care because you bought it and you're doing the thing. I'm an artist, and if I put something, and this is why I haven't loaded anything up into any of the AI stuff with my artwork, because as soon as I do, anybody can take anything that I put on there and then do whatever. They can make a t-shirt out of it. They can make money off of my stuff. Oh, I'm fucking hot about that.
Um,
I don't want it to happen. And just they could change it a tiny bit and then call it their own. And it's like, yeah, I feel obviously, you can hear it in my voice. I feel real strongly about this. And so right now, as we were talking about this today, it's like there's there has been and Simone had she'd put I think it was Simone who had put the article about a court case
mhm.
that, granted it was in the United States, so like, does it hold it up in any other country in the globe? Who the hell knows? But the court case that was won, and but it's like it's almost impossible if somebody abuses your stuff or takes it or does something with it and they're profiting off of it, and you as an artist, you've got like no recourse. You've got just pretty much, I mean, yeah, you have to just like let it go. So I do understand why, musicians and other artists, we're hot about this. It's like there's no guarantee, and everything is changing so fast that the policies can't keep up with it. I think they said that the copyright thing that they read in court was from like 1972, which has like, like what bearing does that have on AI right now? But it's like there's no current policies and stuff written to deal with the copyright and the ownership of creative uh, um, yeah, creations in this era. There's nothing. It's like the Wild West. And so we do have to be careful, what we create and where we're sharing it and how we're using it. Um, yeah, and it's a reality. This is the reality of the times that we're living in. There are things that actually can track. It's kind of like a search engine where you can load some of your stuff up and you can, like, I don't know, I think there's like put a digital watermark, and sure, you could do this. This is one of the reasons why I was interested in the NFTs. It's like I want a numerical digital watermark on everything that I do, but it's like I create so much stuff that it's like loading it up and putting a mark on it or whatever is also very daunting for me.
Is it
It's I would have to have a full-time employee to do that,
is
considering
it
how much stuff I create.
is it is it to track if somebody, for example, sells a piece, or is it to
If
track?
they take it and
Let's
bastardize it, they could take it and bastardize it and do something with it. And like, here's an example. um because I had to give an example because they didn't know what I was talking about.
Yeah.
um and it's like, so say I take a graphic that I did, and so it's
Mhm.
not like doing a thing where I'm taking a print and selling it, or putting it on there like that. But say I want to use it and like cover like, in like an advertisement, a digital advertisement or something,
Mhm.
where I'm essentially creating what looks like the skin of a Volkswagen. But literally the whole thing is in the graphic. The skin of the Volkswagen is now, instead of just a color, like say an orange Volkswagen, it is the design pattern that I have created.
So for a better
Mhm.
example, although
Yeah.
most of people are not watching, not listening, but the thing behind you, the pattern behind you
Yes.
with the dogs
Yeah.
on this
Yeah.
tapestry. I
Mhm.
think you didn't make it, but let's say
No, it's not mine. It is not mine.
let's say you made this pattern
Mhm.
and somebody puts this pattern on a Volkswagen. That's what you mean.
No. No. that I would do it. That, that say this pattern is mine.
Yeah.
Say I put this pattern on a Volkswagen in a thing, so I use it. I use it and do this thing. And then somebody sees it and goes, "Oh, I like that pattern," and they can reproduce it and use it on other things. And then they can put their name on it. They can, or they change it just a little bit. But as soon as you put it out there and use it, you're suddenly, as artists, it's like people with music. There people are sampling, or they're doing things, or they're, and it's like people are losing control of
I have
what
two
they're creating.
questions. I
Yeah.
have two questions.
Mhm.
First, um, that's a little bit far-fetched, but I would still like to ask this question. Did you check if the artists who designed the dog on this pattern behind you
Mhm.
ever agreed that it is used on a pattern like this? And on the other hand, if you put something on a Volkswagen, would you check with Volkswagen if it's okay with them?
It's not that it's okay with the Volkswagen, it's okay with the person who is selling the thing. The They would have to check to see who did the graphic. Not did Volkswagen is now did Volkswagen pay? Where did Volkswagen get the pattern?
No, did you pay Volkswagen to use their design of the car to put your
No, no,
artwork
no.
on,
You're
for example?
misunderstanding. You're mixing it. Say I'm being paid to do something,
Okay.
and so this is the, complicating it. Because we're talking about the copyright of artists, and it's like from an artist's perspective. So let's look at it from that side.
Mm.
And so it's like if I do something and somebody can steal it from me, then it's like they're taking my money, but people tend to not see artists. They tend to see it as not being the artist's thing. So it's like this artists are having to fight for this.
Where do they take your money? What are they doing to
If
take the
somebody
money?
takes a design
Yeah,
and they use it for something else, and it's like, oh, I like that design that was on that Volkswagen.
yeah,
Okay, and they take a photo of it and they run it through something, and then they put it on something else,
yeah.
and then they're making money off of it. Yes, they are stealing from my pocket. If they take my design and they put it on something else, it's like you're not allowed to take like Gucci. If somebody likes the Gucci logo and they put it on something else and they're selling it, that's copyright infringement. That's trademark, infringement. You're because it's not the original thing.
If you're doing art with it, it's something different because then you are doing a citation. If I take the Gucci logo and put it in a piece of art, I'm allowed to do it because in at least in Germany, because it's a citation of Gucci and I use it to make another piece of art. If I make a handbag and put a Gucci logo on it, where I just want
Right.
to sell the bag, then
Mhm.
it is
Mhm.
a copyright infringement.
Right.
When
Okay, but here's the deal. Here's the deal. Everybody knows and is familiar with Gucci. Now, if somebody takes mine, because nobody fucking knows who I am, artistically, if they take my art and put it on something and they don't give me credit for it, this is part of the thing, because it's too easy to hide it. It's too easy to steal it. The lines are blurry. When
mm,
something is really well known, sure, you could you could do an art piece and put a Gucci handbag in there. They still know it's a Gucci handbag. It doesn't take away from the Gucci handbag. You're not selling a Gucci handbag, but it's different with, because everybody knows Gucci. So but this is with the policy. This is all this kind of stuff that is being discussed right now. And it's like, okay, what is it? What is art? It's like, where are the lines?
maybe I have an
Where's the edge? And with all of this stuff with AI, before with artists, you had to physically do it. Now with AI, it's like it's taking it from everywhere. And so it's harder to track it. It's harder to credit the
maybe
artists.
maybe I have a problem with the with understanding what you mean with stealing, because when I steal something, then I take something away from somebody,
Mhm.
which is then taken away. If
Well,
somebody
it's like when I
uses
say stealing something.
just a second, when
Okay.
I use a
Mhm.
design or an artwork
Mhm.
and use it in a
Mhm.
different context, and I sell it because I make let's use the Volkswagen example.
Oh, no, no, no. Let's go straight.
I take just to finish the thought. I take
Mhm.
the artwork you put on a Volkswagen.
Mhm.
Just maybe a dog. Let's say there's pictures of a dog on the Volkswagen, and then take the pictures of the dog, put those on a piano, for example, and I sell the piano. Where did I steal from you? Because you weren't putting it on the piano in the first place, but on the Volkswagen. Where's the stealing in that? Because it's not that you have less after it. You know
Are
what I
you
mean?
crediting me? Are you crediting the artist? Is the art? It's like when you use a piece of music, say
Mm,
in hold
let's say
on, let me finish. Let me finish because you just let me finish. So it's like we cannot use, for example, in our intro, a piece of music without paying for it. So why is it any different with a graphic
um
that I've created
let's say I see the
if it's a
Volkswagen with
copy?
the design by you um, standing at a red light, and I'm
Yeah,
inspired by the design, go
right,
home, draw the design of the dog you put on the Volkswagen,
right.
and then draw it on the piano. And I have no idea that you created this design. How should I credit you, or how should I even find out how to pay somebody for the inspiration? Because that is something I would say is part of an artistic process, to be inspired by something. If you bluntly copy something, I'm totally on the same page. But let's say that I see your design at red light in
Mm-hmm.
traffic on this Volkswagen, and then I come home and I think, ooh, there's my piano. I paint this pattern of a dog. I saw the red light on the piano. And then somebody says, "Oh, that looks awesome. Can I buy it? This piece of art on the piano."
Well, you could even do it on canvas. You don't have to put it on another
Oh,
thing.
on canvas, yes, on canvas. Where did I steal from you?
I didn't say that. I didn't say that at all.
Okay,
It's
then I
that's
misunderstood.
stretching it. That's stretching it. That is an interpretation of something. Now, if somebody copies it exactly,
Hmm.
that's different. It's the same thing. We'll take it back to okay, you hear somebody whistling a tune, some musician is whistling a tune or they're
Hmm.
playing a tune and you go, "Huh, I really like that." And you go home and you do something similar. I mean, there's court cases all the time with musicians that they say, "That's my composition and you cannot use it without paying me." So it's like if it's something can inspire somebody, but if it's different enough, that's a little bit different. But that's where the gray line is how much of it. And so this is what all these court cases are about,
Mm.
and all these policies. It's good that all of this stuff is being hashed out in courts to create policies about copyright. And this has been ongoing, but it's multiplied and it's off the charts with, you know, the internet, digital access, and now AI. Because
Hmm.
the AI makes it exponential. And then it's like, okay, where is it? I have to say, maybe with AI, there's a better research
Hmm.
of what the hell was the original. But the thing is that, you know, yeah, people should get credited who came up with the things. And even if you're only getting, if somebody uses it, there's a use fee. If we wanted to use some music in the beginning of our intro, we would have to pay a fee, as it should be. It's not that we can play it on a guitar and play it. It's like, no, 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 that's you're edging up into, you know, it's you're just not allowed to. or you're not allowed to, and or even if it's should be allowed to, it's like, should you do it anyway just
Mm,
because you can?
mm.
This is the thing that is, there's a lot of, this is the ethics discussions and the ethics, debates and conversations that definitely need to be had and are being had. But as creatives, it's like, yeah, you
I
know,
especially
and
in
but
the,
it especially when people have money, and companies have money, and they see something and they take it, and they'll just use it, and they know that you don't have the money, and as many lawyers as they have. So artists have to be very, very careful, because you can't, you're screwed if
espe-
somebody likes something and they take it out from underneath you, and there's no recourse.
what I
So it's, yeah.
what I really find is sad, especially in the music, because that's where I have several examples from. I grew up around a lot of semi-professional musicians, and all of them, yeah, I would say, nah, almost all of them wrote, I would say, at least 100 songs. Nobody published or did something with those songs because they were too afraid that somebody would steal them, or that some record company hears them and then uses the song and uh, alters it a little bit, and then give it away to some really famous musician, and they never see any money. So it's sad for me, because those 5 people at least really dreamt for 30, 40 years about being a successful musician. And one of the biggest obstacles in their way was this fear that somebody could steal their music. And so they sit on the music without
Mhm.
releasing it or without doing anything with it.
Yeah.
When I say, what's the point then? Then you can then you are going to die with it. So just release it and see what happens, and
Mhm.
somebody good will come back. But there, especially now, 30 years later,
Mhm.
there's not going to be a good or bad fairy waving her wand and saying, so now you get a record contract. Or now somebody's going to pay you for the music, or now somebody is stealing your music. And even if so, if I wrote a song, or if I wrote something, an article, a book, a movie, whatever, and I never did anything with it, and then somebody, or somehow it leaks to somebody, or somebody takes it and makes it a success, then the the having the idea and making the piece is the one thing, or the one part of the work, but making it successful or earning money with it um, is something that somebody else's work um, was, or had to be included. And
Okay, hold on. Okay, I got to stop you right there, and interject here. You're speaking like a colonizer.
like a
Because
what? Like a what?
a colonizer,
Okay.
because it's like, that's like taking claim. It was like, well, yeah, but you did it, but you didn't do anything with it, therefore everybody else should have the rights to it. Now, this is particularly touchy subject for neurodivergence, because there's a lot of people with ADHD that people can't finish projects. So basically, with that logic of what you're saying right there, is that, yeah, okay, anybody who's got ADHD who can't finish their projects, you don't have the right to it because you never actually did anything with it. Therefore, other people who are linear thinkers and have the capacity to do something with your brilliance, they have the right to that shit, because they could actually bring it to market. So I'm calling bullshit on that. And it's like we have the right to sit on our ideas if we're uncomfortable with it. And there is proof in a lot of the system of not being supported
Huh.
and being taken advantage of.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense for
And so
me.
I have the right to sit on my
Yeah.
shit and not
Yeah.
share it with the world. And that's my right.
Okay.
And if it's
Yeah.
a shame, it's a shame. I don't care.
Okay. I'm always happy when some linear thinker takes a project of mine I can't finish and pushes it further.
And makes a shit ton of money off of it, or little money off of it, and you get nothing, or compensation or acknowledgement. That you're okay with
Mm,
that? I'm not. I
in
mean, you can tell in my voice I feel very passionately about
in
this,
a,
but
in a,
I know a lot of people who have had stuff taken out from underneath them, and
in
especially at work, especially women who get their ideas taken out from underneath them, and other people take credit for it. This is a super super hot topic that goes. There's a lot of things that go from copyright to the rights of your ideas that some people, and I mean, come on, people, white people have been doing this to people of color and indigenous communities for throughout all history,
in
feeling that they have a right to do it. Yeah.
in a, I don't have the experience in an artistic context, but as you described in a work context, so that
Yeah,
people more level up in the hierarchy took ideas of mine or took the work I pre I prepared and then got the credit for it. And I think the first two or three times that happened to me were not so nice. And at some point, I realized, hey, that's my job. That's what I'm paid for.
that's what you signed up for in a job. But
Yeah.
for example, when you're in a team situation and
Hmm.
you come up with idea and you do the work, and then you have somebody else, another team member, take credit and present it to the boss. Sorry,
Yeah.
sorry, no, sorry,
Okay.
no, no.
That never happened to me.
Well, guess what? You're a white guy. I'll
Yeah.
bet it doesn't happen to you a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. That's and I don't know if I how I would react to that. Not very nicely, I guess.
And it's one thing to happen once in a
Yeah.
while, but some of us, and I have friends who it happens all the time.
Yeah.
But this is one of the things that makes it hard, for me in large company situations, because I can't keep my mouth shut about that stuff. Not only with me, but when I see it happen to other people, I'm like, hey, that's not fair. And then the accusation and then the gaslighting of you're not being a team player. But this is what society wants to do with its artists, is claim that we're not being a team player because we're not sharing our creativity.
Yeah.
It's like people who say marketing, they keep saying this thing with, writers and different kinds of creators and graphics, and how many times. It's why I stopped doing graphic arts for logos and
Mm.
things. And instead of wanting to pay my full price, they were like, yeah, but this will be great exposure for you. And I'm like, fuck off, I'll decide that.
Yeah.
This kind of thing. The amount of gaslighting that creatives have to put up with,
Mm.
that they're not paying creatives for what they're actually what they're worth.
Mm.
Yeah, you could tell I don't care about this subject at all, right? I'm like, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and I understand the
yeah,
colonization
yeah,
analogy now.
yeah.
Um, because you are taking away something from somebody, even if they don't have any use for it right now, but you're taking it away and you're taking away the chance of doing with it when they are ready
Right,
on their
right,
terms and on their
right.
schedule. And yeah. Mm.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in there, a
Yeah.
lot more stuff in there, but that's it, you're simplifying it. But yes,
Yeah.
you know, uh, um,
Ah.
Yeah. Our, what we create is what we create, what we're responsible for, our ideas, the value of our ideas is something that we just don't have, good policy, protective policy around. That's something that, and I don't know if it's, I doubt it's going to be solved in my lifetime. Maybe AI could figure that out for us, huh? Huh? But it's funny because when you ask AI about this stuff, they say, "Oh, protect yourself or don't do it." Basically, is what the bottom line. Yeah,
The
it's
first
like
the first thing
don't
that
load it
comes
onto AI.
the
Is
the the
basically what.
the
Mhm.
first thing that comes to my mind where I can help with it is
Mhm.
in helping to finish the project as an 88 with 88 because that's what I use AI all the time for to help
Mhm.
me get in the right direction to finish things. And that's possible even without getting the actual piece to the AI
Mhm. Mhm.
and not um, getting in the danger of for example giving an artwork to the AI. You could still
Right.
use it and say, hey, I'm working on this thing and describe it a little bit and say, okay, what could be the next step or what could be the next idea how give me ideas how I can publish it or get to the next level or put it on some platform or whatever. That could be something AI can help
Yeah. And
artists with.
how do you put a watermark on the things?
Yeah,
A
for example.
watermark
Yeah.
that can't be like an NFT. Because one of the things that I'm very close to doing, very close. It's been quite a while, but I feel like I've got enough things that are in place right now that it feels like it's very close of doing things, using my graphics in terms of patterns to do like wallpaper sheets and fabric. And
Mm.
I find it very exciting.
Hmm.
But I have to be careful because my style is such that it's very copyable.
Mm.
Um, just my natural style is very copyable. And so I do understand what that means. Um, and I do have to be careful with it. I'm
With
very
style,
aware of
with style, you mean something like,
Well,
uh,
like if you look at the dogs behind me, okay, it's very kind of simple. Now, some of my things are very the complex, but the
yeah,
graphic style
it's simple.
of the colors or the components of them are very simple.
Yeah,
Um, and so they're not like, let's say they're not like watercolors. My
yeah,
style is a very graphic
yeah.
style. And so there's that kind of stuff is fairly easy to copy and duplicate and take components of it.
Mm.
Somebody could look at a component of what I do and go, "Oh, okay, that it's like a melody in a song."
Yeah.
That somebody could run it through a thing and just take one layer off of it. I would recognize it instantly if I saw it in something else. I would be like,
Mm.
"Hey, shit, that looks like mine."
Hmm.
Um, um, yeah, and I would have no recourse to you know, if it showed up on, say, oh, I don't know, let's say Walmart, some T-shirt in Walmart, like how did that thing get there?
Mm.
and and yeah, and I would have no recourse, no money to go after the person. How would I track it? How would I figure out where the hell
Mm.
that came from? Um, but it's very distinctive. Um, Certain components of what I do are very distinctive.
Yeah.
Um, but again, it's like anything that's influenced. You look at architecture, and it's kind of like what you were saying earlier. It says you can be influenced by things because, of course, I am. Every time I travel, I'm like, where's my pen? Where's my where's my sketchbook? Where's my iPad? I have to draw. So there's a lot of things you know, when I travel, I'm like hyper inspired by stuff and architecture, the feel of the ambiance in a cafe, not necessarily physically the thing,
Mm,
but the feel of it, or the,
mm,
you know, the sound of something or the taste of something else. And it so it manifests in a graphic. It comes together in a graphic.
mm.
But there's a, you know, a particular position of a chair. Well, I'm not copying a chair, but there's a, you know, and definitely not that chair, but there's a feeling about the chair that I'm
Mm,
transposing, if you
mm.
will. So there's a, yeah, we're all inspired by things, but it's not like taking a photo and then selling, you know, kind of putting a filter on the photo and then selling the photo,
Yeah.
a filtered photo of something, you know, say, well, it's mine, I took the photo. Yeah, yeah, but you know, it's like there's, but again, it's like I don't even know where the lines are, but as an artist I'm very sensitive of not stepping onto other
I
creatives' toes.
I just read an article or in German law about that. That in German law it's quite differentiated. If a piece of art is
Mm-hmm.
accessible from the street, you can take a photograph and sell the photograph of the artwork. If you photograph through a window into a house where the artwork is hanging on the wall, for example, it's
Mm-hmm.
a gray zone. And
Right.
if you go in the house, or if you have to go in the house to take the picture you want to have, then it's forbidden.
Yeah, yeah. But like saying taking a um you know, a picture of like graffiti.
Yeah.
Um it's a photograph of graffiti, and so, and it's on a street, so it's kind of like a land, it's that's kind of an, you're kind of in a landscape thing. Now if you crop it tight enough where you can't see anything but the graffiti,
And put that
you
on a
know,
t-shirt
that's different.
and sell the
That's different.
t-shirt only with the
Exactly.
graffiti. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly.
Mm,
So, but again, this is what all these conversations are about right now, writing the copyright and the trademark policies, and like, okay, where are the lines?
mm.
And there isn't enough. And it's one thing to do it country per country, but then when you do it internationally, because now we're like
Wow.
global.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
I
super complex.
I heard on a podcast a story about an Austrian guy, like an not really a detective, because he said detective is you're not allowed to call yourself a private detective in Austria
Mhm.
when you don't have a license, like in America. In Germany, you can do it.
Mhm.
I could say I am a private detective
Mhm.
without any license or so. And he got a job and an information about one of the highest politicians in Austria, that he did shady business, let's say. And then
Politician,
the
shady
polit
business. Which one?
even for a politician, shady business. And he produced a video where the politician is talking about that with a hidden camera, and released and leaked the video. And there's an interesting case, because he recorded the video in Spain. And in Spain,
Mm.
and it wasn't on purpose. He knew that the legal background is that way, but he couldn't provoke this politician to go to Spain to record the video. But Spanish
Mm.
law allows you to take a video of a person of public interest, so such as politicians are, with a hidden camera when you, as the camera person, are in the same room.
Ah, mm-hmm.
So it's
Mm-hmm.
allowed in Spain, and the whole situation was allowed. Uh, Austrian government and Austrian legal department said, we don't care. We just treat it as if it happened on Austrian soil. So he couldn't do anything about it, and he was like
Oh, Mm.
And the interesting thing he described in the podcast was that there was a big special force, like a legal police special force built around the whole case. Around 20 or 25 people were about on finding him, the guy who took the video. 3 people were about the politician and what he did wrong, were about the corruption. So he said, like, you see where at least we in Austria
Mhm.
set our priorities.
Wow.
And even they didn't care that the production of the whole video with the hidden cam was on Spanish soil and was completely legal in Spain.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
even if you are on the like right side of the law,
Yeah. Yeah.
it can be totally screwed up.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. And I mean it's like and everything is changing
Yeah,
like exponentially. The speed of stuff
yeah,
is so it's like how the hell then the legal system is like so slow at a
yeah,
snail's pace and like dinosaurs because all the past stuff that we're sitting on and we're using is just doesn't apply. So they're scrambling.
yeah,
They're really scrambling to catch up, and there's just like no way.
yeah.
And of course, people take advantage of that. There's people that see that and they're just like, ah, haha, you know. Anyway, let's wrap this up. We've been going on, and we should totally title this, the episode where Sharon and Alex fight, and Sharon calls Alex a colonizer. We should we should totally put that in the title.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, because it got really passionate. Yeah, and no, but I like that the conversations that we have that we can hash it out. Because
And
it's
I
and it's
liked, I,
yeah.
I didn't like to be called a colonizer, but I liked to understand what you meant and to learn something from it. And
I had to. You made me go
yeah,
there.
yeah, yeah.
I'm like,
Thank you.
he
Thank you
doesn't
for that.
understand. He doesn't understand what he's saying. It's like, all right,
Sorry,
dude. All right,
sorry for
dude.
making you do that, but thank you as
No,
well.
no, 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 no. It's okay. But it's like, but that's the thing. And then I think it's a really good example that people don't understand.
Hmm.
People don't understand what's at stake here.
Yeah,
People don't understand that the people who, are are divergent or in one way or another and don't live and don't exist in the dominant norms of society, what the price is that
yeah,
we pay,
yeah,
and how we have to navigate and fight all the time. And it's exhausting and justify, you know, like our existence and our creations and everything.
yeah.
It's very, very tiring. And I'm saying that as a white woman, a white Western woman who also lives in privilege and in terms of just being born like this. Obviously, me. I'm not I'm not like financially, but the fact that I'm born in this just literally makes me of privilege
Yeah.
in the world.
Mm.
That's just the nature of it. And so I'm very careful and very sensitive to not tread on anybody's toes and give everybody their the credit and support. That's absolutely for me so vital. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I think that because we're neurodivergent and I'm the whole thing, the sexuality, you name it, non-binary, gender, whatever. It's I think though that gives me the capacity for understanding and
Mhm.
opening the door for understanding and um, not a representation, not being the ambassador of, I don't mean it like that, but it's just like, hey, you know, um, it's like it's sort of we all need to do what we can do to call attention to stuff
Yeah.
that needs to be talked about and looked at.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Voila.
Et
Now I need
voilà.
to take a nap.
Ah!
I'm gonna go get something to eat. And
Oh, I would like to as well. I know that my day
yeah,
is at least going for
yeah,
still for 6 hours until
yeah, I'm not
9
done either. I'm not done either.
9 or
I'm saying
10
I'd like to
p.m.
take a nap. I'd like to take a nap. But there's no, I got other shit I gotta do. But one thing I will not be doing is playing with AI for like the whole week. I will not be doing that because I've got other shit I've got to do, and I will be rabbit holing if I do that.
Ah.
So I let you know. I let you know.
If you have any questions, let me know. If I can help you in
I
any way
will. I
or
will.
give you any shortcuts, then
I
fire
will.
away.
I'll be hitting you up. There's a
Yeah.
couple people, like you that I was when I was in the session this morning, and I was going, oh. That's why I had to talk to you today, and I forced the subject on all our listeners, and
Mhm.
so you're welcome, and I'm sorry, and but it's but I'll keep you posted and let you
Cool.
know. Yeah. So probably by the time I talk to you next Monday, I'll probably be like, no, I didn't do it the week I was a good girl. I didn't touch it. Or I'll be like, I did it. I'm in deep. It'll be one or the other. It'll be one or the other. Cool. All right then. Let's say thank you everybody for joining us. And yeah, each and every one of us, you need to remember that each and every one of you are a vital, precious key through the shitstorm of a one size fits all world. So go out there and I would say unlock the forbidden doors, but it's like go out there and protect all your shit. If we made you totally paranoid with this conversation. No, but no, seriously, create, and keep it going.
And decide for yourself when you want to open that door and release your stuff into
That's
the
right.
world. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. We hold the keys. Yeah.
Cool.
Cool. All right then.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Until next week then.
Yes.
Bye.